Hi, I'm Sean Dunn and welcome to Origin to Ambition, the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast. In this episode, I speak with Felicity Mace, owner and founder of Salon Mace, located in the Melbourne suburb of Windsor. Felicity grew up on the Murray, moved to Sydney, ended up in hairdressing, and ultimately moved to Melbourne. She's got a great story to tell with some fantastic lessons for entrepreneurs and a couple of funny stories to throw in. So I think you'll find this episode both educational and entertaining, and I invite you to please listen on. Welcome to Origin to Ambition, the show where we explore the small business entrepreneur's journey in business. I'm your host, Sean Dunn. Let's get into it. Hello, Felicity Mace. Welcome to Origin to Ambition, my podcast, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Sean. So great to be on the podcast. Super excited. It's my first podcast, so that's very exciting.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm fairly new to this as well. I've done a few now, but it's all new. But it's great to have a conversation, and I know we've known each other a long time, but I'm sure we're going to learn some more stuff about Felicity Mace today, which will be interesting for our business owner entrepreneurs out there.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Before we get into it, do you mind take us through your business, the name of your business, what you do, how many staff you've got? Just give us a bit of a snapshot.
Yeah, sure. So the business is Salon Mace. It's a hairdressing salon. I have about 10 staff. I have apprentices and senior staff. I also have a social media person and a salon coordinator. And we basically do hair from styling for events to colouring, cutting and blow drying.
You have a very high-end hairdressing business, I would say. Just put some context around that. And I won't be specific for your own privacy, of course, but you do operate a 7-figure turnover business. So it's a very successful business.
Thank you. I've worked very hard for it. It didn't start that way at all. So it's been a journey, very challenging at times, but also very, very rewarding.
That is a perfect... Anyone would think we've rehearsed this, because that is a perfect segue, Felicity, into what I'm going to ask you next. So I'm going to say to you, do you mind taking us back, and I mean back, maybe even to...
How far?
School? Yeah, but even school years. Like, did you always want to be
a business owner?
A business owner, even a hairdresser? Did you come from an entrepreneurial family or anything like that?
Yeah, so my mum was probably from creative upbringings. My grandmother was a milliner. My mum was a hairdresser. Yep. I grew up in a country town, Albury, New South Wales. I did look at doing an apprenticeship there, but I just wanted to get out of Albury and I just wanted to go to Sydney. I really loved art, fine arts, and my mission was to do fine arts. So I was a kid that just always wanted to go to the art room. I did quite well with 2-unit and 3-unit art. And I just was on the mission to get to Sydney. And I applied for the Fine Arts College in Paddington. I got accepted, which I was very excited for. And then in that January, I found a salon in Rose Bay and they needed a salon assistant. And it was buzzy and exciting and something I'd never experienced before growing up in Albury. And then they said to me, do you want a job, an apprenticeship? And it's just something that I hadn't thought of at all. And then I rang my mum and I said, Mum, I've been offered this job. And my mum was very much, guided me, but didn't want to persuade me in any area. And she said, well, you need to have a really good think about it. And I sort of projected myself being in fine arts. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of employment for fine arts. Did I want to be a high school art teacher? No, I didn't. And I guess maybe I saw the dollars, because in those days, it was a very lucrative business, lots of cash. And I declined my fine arts degree and I went into hairdressing. And then a senior stylist came to the salon in Rose Bay. And it was a salon that every Friday was, booked in regular clients back to back. And it was very community-based and very affluent area.
I was going to say it's not a bad suburb, Felicity.
No, not at all. Anyway, and then she, a senior stylist, came to that salon and she said she was there for a couple of months and she said, I'm going back to where I started. you're coming with me. And that happened to be, if anyone knows, Joe Bailey Salon in Double Bay. And I had a meeting, and in those days it was down a lane on a crate, and then that was my interview, and I got the job there, and that was glitz and glamour. That was celebrities and high end and really exciting. And then I learnt how to blow dry really well, and then I said to Joe and Marilyn at the time, Marilyn was a great person to mentor through business. She's very successful, very hardworking, single mother. And I said to her, I don't want to be a hairdresser anymore. And they said, what about you run the salon and do hair on a Saturday, which I did and I really loved. And after several years living in Sydney, which was fantastic, it was a very racy, fun time of my life. And I learnt business, and I learnt her theory was you don't say no, you accommodate, you fit people in, you coordinate the salon. I decided that I wanted to come to Melbourne because my family was closer, and I was just going to do coffee or work at a Scanlon and Theodore. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I was offered a part business-ship in the salon in the Como Centre, and I was asked to restructure it and to grow it. And I accepted that role, which I did, which I'm very proud of. And then we purchased the salon from Joe and Marilyn and made it Conrad Mace. And I had a business partner, Greg Conrad. Long story short, I had 2 children and I really wanted to step back. So I sold that business and I took some time off. But it really gave me the understanding of what it took to run a business. We had about 20 staff. It was fast. It was fast paced. It was high service, high end clientele. So that really gave me a really good steady fast about how it was to run a business, what it took, how to manage clients, how to manage staff. And I got a really good sense of achievement by doing that. But having 2 littlies, I wanted to step back, and I sold that part of the business and took some time off. And then I went down a sort of organic.
Can I just jump in there, Felicity? So that back to that business, Conrad Mace, where you became a business owner. Can you pinpoint the time where you were like, yeah, you know what, I want to own a business? Like you may not have used the term I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but that's what you became.
I guess I fell into it in a way. It wasn't something that I ever set out to do. It wasn't I'm going to own. A lot of hairdressers come into a business and they just say, I want to own my own business. I want to own my own business. It was quite organic that I did it. But I am the sort of person, if I'm going to do something, I'll do it, and set a challenge, I'll do it. So I did fall into it, but then I grabbed it with both hands, and there was no idea of it won't do well, or, I was brought in to restructure it and to turn it into a success. And that was just the way it was going to happen. There was no other option really. So I definitely fell into it.
Yeah. And look, I think I often, so we're not here to talk about me, but in my business, and I meet new potential clients who are business owners, that is often a theme that what happens is they're actually doing something that they love doing, and it just sort of starts to evolve or become a business owner position, so to speak.
Yes.
So that kind of falling into it, like you've just said, often occurs, and potentially not really knowing much about business when starting off, or much about, entrepreneurship. But you touched on something there about saying it was never not going to work. Like in your mind, it was always just going to happen. Once you decided to do it, you were going to make it work.
Yeah. And especially, I guess we'll go into the business that I have now. Again, it was just, there was never an inkling in my head that what happens if it doesn't work. It just had to work. It just had to happen.
Is that, yeah. And is that, that's an entrepreneur mindset though, isn't it? I mean, is that something you have to have to be an entrepreneur?
I think so. I think you have worries, but if you have doubts and you go into it trembling, going, what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if it fails? I always go worst case scenario. What's the worst case? And yeah, I think you can't doubt. I think you've got to go in strong, got to be committed, and you've got to make sure that there is no option to not succeed. It just has to succeed. I think my personal situation, being a single mother in this business I have now, definitely drove that.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to not work. It just had to work.
So Felicity, what was the time? So we'll just pivot a little bit back to your current business. So Salon Mace.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind the business? It does feel like knowing the business, but of course our listeners and viewers don't necessarily know your business. It feels like it was a continuum of the high-end sort of environment you've typically worked in. But what was the idea behind it, and what drove you to kick off Salon Mace?
Yeah, so I guess personally, I was faced being a single mum with two small children, and I did what I knew how to do, which was hair. I was looking at other sorts of businesses, but I thought low risk, let's do what you know how to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to open a more boutique, bespoke salon. I'd worked in very high-end, very busy, lots of staff where clients sort of get moved around from different stylists in the one appointment. So I wanted to open something that was more boutique, more personalized, still high-end, still delivering a very high sense of service and also technique with the hair, but just something a little bit more boutique-y.
Yeah, understand. So what was it like when you first started Salon Mace? So like, I know you'd done it before, but when you start any new venture, what were the early days like, Felicity?
Well, I never actually opened a salon before from ground up. I'd been part of a salon. I'd joined a business. I'd run a business, but I'd never actually from the ground up. So the premise was an old milk bar. It was disgusting and dirty. And I had a very good friend who was part owner initially in the business, and he was really good at renovating. So he kindly renovated it for me. And I opened just with me. I hadn't done hair for quite a few years. I'd lost contact with clients, and the world had changed. Social media had come about. I even remember the first client I did, and she wasn't reading a magazine. She was on her phone. So in a short period of time, not being in the business had changed a lot. So yes, it was just me, and I had a couple of clients. It's High Street Windsor, so we had a little bit of foot traffic. I also invited a couple of clients just to come, some mums that I knew, to do complimentary, to fill chairs, because that's what creates people walking past. Oh, it's busy. I learnt that from past experiences with businesses. Just fill seats, put bums on seats. So I did that. And then fortunately I had a stylist walk past when the windows were still in renovation period, and he walked past and he said to his friend, I'm going to work there when that's finished. And so he reached out to me on DMs, and he came from a local salon, and him and I worked together, and it slowly just built up, and word got out that I was back and I had a salon. And in saying that, I very much created a whole new clientele for myself that I previously had. And that was through social media and Instagram, which is probably a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, that has just changed business incredibly, but it was daunting. It was scary. It was stressful. But as I just keep saying, there just wasn't an option. I had two young little girls that I had to support, and I also didn't want to fail. I knew that I had to do it. I knew I could do it. I believed wholeheartedly that I could do it. And I remember having the opening, and it was great, and it was full, and it was full of energy, and the building has great energy, and it's just evolved. And last week we had all the best and fairest from all the football clubs, and I get this warm feeling when I see bums on seats and the salon busy, and I sometimes reflect and I go, wow, like from someone that just had one person There was no bums on seats. I'd been out of the industry for several years, and that pride and joy just, filters through all the stress and strains that a business owner has.
Yes.
And just makes you go, wow, I've created something.
That's awesome. Can we circle back then? Because I think this is a lesson for business owners, small business owners. You said about even just having some complimentary, giving away some services effectively. And it's interesting that some business owners, I think, would almost balk at that because they're giving away something. But you have a different approach, obviously, because what you've done is you've turned it into a marketing exercise. And I guess really what you've done is giving away some services is almost like just a marketing budget.
Yes. Well, I don't believe in discounting. I'm not going to discount my services, because if you discount, that one client in 2 weeks' time comes back and says, well, why am I being discounted again? And what I've learned in our industry is don't devalue your service. But in the beginning, when I didn't have clients, better to do something uncomplimentary than not do anyone at all. And in a way, it's networking, because that person then goes out and says, I had my hair done at Salon Mace, or, wow, your hair looks great. Who did it? And that creates a buzz. And then it's like a snowball. It just grows and grows. And fast forward, 7 years of being in the business now, that's really what our influencers do for us. And that is, it's a marketing budget, and you don't necessarily see the dollar value straight away. But as with the best and fairest, bums on seats, clients booking in because of those influencers, they're walking billboards. And I find it's a necessity. You just, I remember when we worked at Joe Bailey in Sydney and Double Bay, we would do a full page ad in Vogue. It's different now. We do influencers, or we do, complimentary services, and that turns into dollars.
Yeah, that's great. I'll raise that because I think there can be an approach, and it's not just small business owners, it's sometimes the people that are advising those owners. It's not, and I don't advise this way. Actually, full transparency, I work with you, so I probably should have said that at the start. But from our discussions, I'm a growth-focused advisor. Yes, we have to keep an eye on expenditure, and we have to understand expenditure, but really it's about how do we generate more turnover and more income. That's how I approach business, and I think you're the same way. I raise all of that because I think some advisors and some business owners, not my clients, but business owners, can always look at what it's costing. Oh, no, that's a cost. Oh, no, we've got to cut that cost. Oh, I can't give that away because that's a cost. And not maybe not looking with a more expanded mindset, I suppose, of saying, yes, that's a cost, but can I get a return on that cost?
Well, that's like Lily, our front desk girl, who is amazing. She doesn't generate income, but she does, because I go to a cafe and she does our social media, and someone will say, hey, your social media is amazing. And, I went out to dinner the other night and I saw a girlfriend I hadn't seen in a couple of years' time, and she's like, you guys are killing it. Your social media is amazing.
Yeah,
and that to me,
and I've told you that as well. I agree with that. I think the social media is really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Lily. Like, she's generating an income for herself that you don't see the dollar value in the facts and figures, but it's generating business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great lesson. So what drives you? You've touched on it already, but we'll touch on it anyway. But what drives you every day when you get into the salon? What drives you?
I guess my children drive me. My girls drive me. They're, as I said before, I'm a single parent. There is no option. I want them to go to private school. I want them to have a good life, as we all do. It's not personal or judging anybody that doesn't. So that's really important to me, that they go to private schools, and those bills have to be paid. It also drives me to see my staff succeed, to see them being educated, for them to do amazing clients, because we do. Our social media has led us to have amazing clients, and they're lovely, and to create a really nice environment. That also drives me. I have a theory that everybody's basically equal, whether you are a first year or a senior. We all help out. We all pitch in together. That also drives me when I see a senior stylist, helping an apprentice, or an apprentice helping a senior staff, and that we all sort of work together. It drives me to do beautiful hair, to make people feel good. That also drives me. People think, oh, it's very shallow or materialistic, but it's not. I hear people's lives. You sometimes hear things that nobody else in their family hears. And sometimes, I've had someone cry because of their hair, because it's made them feel so nice. That also drives me.
Yeah. That's if it improves someone's feelings about themselves. I mean, it's
huge.
I mean, and I know, you're in business to be in business, but it's also nice to feel that you've got a positive impact on, members of the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking the other day is some of our clients, yes, they come to get their hair done, but they don't just come to get their hair done. They come to be at Salon Mace and come to be in our environment, and to come to our stylists because we create an experience and something that's personal. And so, I don't always think they do. It's sort of a bit like a restaurant. You come for the good service. The food's great, but the service is amazing, and that's what makes it different. So I know that a lot of our clients come to be at Salon Mace because it creates an energy and a feeling, and my staff create that feeling. So that's also a really nice thing as well.
Yeah, so it's not just about the delivery of a service per se. It's the experience and having a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Which that drives me and warms my heart as well, because I think, wow, we've created such a beautiful space and such a nice energy, and it actually makes people feel great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the start of Salon Mace. Is there anything that you would, if you went back in time now and knowing what you know now, so this is for everyone,
yes.
What would you do? Does anything stand out that you would change, or that you learned and you think, oh, I would have done this differently, I could have maybe improved doing that?
Totally. I think when you open a business and you don't have a business per se background, I don't have any degree in business. I was sort of, as I say, organically happened. I think a better understanding of the back end is really important. And people talk about business plans and things like that. I think that's different. I think a business plan is different. I think having a really good understanding of whatever software program you use, like a Xero, to clearly understand how to do it and not necessarily rely on bookkeepers and accountants. You need them, absolutely. They need to do their job, just like I do my job. But a clear understanding of when you look at a Xero, or how they work, how the back end works, I think is really important. And going back, that is something I wished I'd done. And I'm learning that later on in my business.
Yes, we're getting there.
Yeah,
no,
I think you get so caught up in the runnings of it, which I do.
Yeah,
and you put so much energy into the present, and this business is on the floor. It's go the whole time you're there. And then when you step away from it in the evening, you just want to sort of step away from it and breathe.
Yeah.
And then to go and then do the accounting side of it, I've always been, let them do their job. And yes, let them do their job, but you need an understanding of it, just in case they're not doing the right thing, or they're not doing something that you think that they should do, or you can have an input in it with educating how they do it.
Yeah, so it's not even about saying that you've got to be an expert in that particular field, but you've just got to be.
No.
I think you're making a really good point here, because that's another thing, and I often find working with a new client that they actually don't really check their numbers. So, and it is, look, the reality is when you're good at something creative, like if we use you as the example, you're a creative, you're in a creative industry and you're a creative person. doing accounting and numbers is potentially not the most appealing
No.
activity to
No.
participate in, right?
No, it's not.
I think it's just even a basic awareness of just understand, well, how much comes in versus how much goes out. Even that.
When Sean, I used to just look at my bank account. If my
Yeah.
bank account was good, I was good,
Yeah.
not realizing that all these other things need to be paid out. And I'm not talking color, and I'm on all of that. I'm on all of the things that need to be paid within the four walls, but outside of that. And I think as the tax gets more trickier and as the government gets harder to manage and small business gets harder, yes, I think it's a knowledge, not a necessary I need to do it, but it's a knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because not looking at just your bank account is not a knowledge of it. And there's so much more that goes on outside those four walls.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because the bank account view is almost sole trader type type thinking, and that's not knocking sole traders either. There's
No.
heaps of entrepreneur sole traders out there, but yeah, sort of everything's just on the bank account, so therefore I know what's going on. Whereas when you're running a company structure like yourself and you've got multiple staff members and you've got a lot more to think about than just the bank account.
Yeah, well, I guess that's also what drives me. I'm responsible for staff. They've got mortgages and bills and things to pay as well. So those moments where I've gone, oh, this is too much. I can't do this anymore, which we all have. I'm like, no, I've got to get back in there. I'm responsible. I'm responsible for staff. I'm responsible for my kids and my staff. And, it's just, it goes back to it's just going to have to work because it's going to have to do. But I definitely think that's one thing that I'm changing now is that knowledge of outside the business.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Where do you see the value then of advice? I'm trying not to make it a leading question because I am your advisor, but the value, so it's not about me, but the value of maybe good advice even versus maybe not so good advice, without trying to, speak about anyone specifically, but, that maybe some of the advice early on in business is worth getting if it's good advice, rather than maybe not getting it or getting advice that's not so great. I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I almost feel it's like when you are a single person, I know a lot of people in this industry and their husbands do the bank, do the bookkeeping, or their husbands do this or their husbands do that. I don't know if necessarily that's good either. But I think to keep yourself out of trouble, it's really good to have somebody like yourself. I always sort of like to hold your hand in that side of things to do with tax and what you can claim and what you can't. And, if the figures are dropping a little bit, someone to bounce off that is educated and knows what they're talking about. So it's not just a cowboy conversation. It's a real conversation about how we need to, what are the situations, what are the challenges, how do we need to tackle that? And you and I have done that several times about, how to put more bums on seats, or instead of pulling back on things like Lily or stock or things like that, how can we increase sales and be more positive? Because like you, I do agree pulling back is really negative, and you need to grow. And to do that, how do we grow? So having someone that's educated in this sector is really important. And accountants aren't always those people. They don't grow businesses. They're facts and figures. And my experience is they can be very matter of fact, which can be quite jarring when you're trying to grow a business because they don't necessarily know the business. They're very facts and figures. They're very tick the box. So someone outside that to be able to talk the nuts and bolts about how to grow a business is really important. But that person needs to be educated and needs to know what they're doing. It can't just be a casual conversation with somebody that doesn't really know what they're talking about. And I really think the challenges in businesses that are faced nowadays, we all know small businesses are tough and it's tough out there. Even I've sort of thought, I need to cut Sean. I can't pay that month. That's a big amount. And then I sort of go, no, hang on a minute. A challenge will come up and we'll have a meeting and we'll nut it out. And then I'll come back into the salon and I'll implement it. And even Lily will go, that's awesome, Felicity. Let's do it. And then then it gets the ball rolling again. So I really think having a sounding board of someone that's educated in business and small business is definitely important.
You've led me, well, I'm glad that you've got value from me. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So on a serious note, you mentioned, but on this theme and also about having maybe a mentor.
Yeah.
And you said early on, was it Marilyn was a bit of a
Yes.
mentor? Was that right? So even that, as an entrepreneur, maybe, and we've all been at the start of the business when there's no revenue and there's no income coming through the door, especially if you're starting. I mean, I started Dominion Capital with no clients. That was how I started. This isn't about me, but when I came out of corporate, I wasn't an advisor. I had previously been an advisor, but I'd gone up into management, which meant I had no clients. So it's not like I walked away with a book of clients and I could just open the doors and away we go.
Yeah.
So the point to me saying that, and you've done exactly the same thing with your business, is there's no revenue from day one. It's not there. You've got to start generating it. And that can make it hard to get the right advisor if you're paying, because you don't have the revenue and really all you've got is sweat and time to really put into it.
You've got the rent to pay, you've got product to pay, you've got, Yeah.
So I think that's where maybe the mentor, a trusted mentor that maybe is in the industry or someone who may have been a previous boss of yours or a previous manager or something like that. Has that been valuable to you, having that mentor relationship at some point in your career?
I think in the early days, I didn't really know that it was even a mentor, but I look back and I still implement something that Marilyn Koch said to me, you just don't say no. And if I have a new staff member, I still say, the word no does not exist. It's unfortunately, or maybe, or, and even though it wasn't structured like a mentor in those days, going back, it was organic. It just happened. It was just, you just sort of went under her wing and you learnt all these things that I still implement nowadays. And then it was a bit cowboy-y. So now I've learnt businesses change. It can't be so cowboy anymore. You do need more structure. You do need mentors. You do need to be more educated with financial, just because the world has changed. But I do agree it's hard when you're first starting and you've got lots of outgoings, but some things are invaluable. And like we were talking, you don't see the value initially, but you reap the rewards as you go.
Yeah, I understand. I think working with you, we have been working on that idea of trying to have you as a business owner, not necessarily in the business on the floor so much. And that's still a work in progress, I think it's probably fair to say.
Well, Sean, through the whole sort of journey, when I came to Melbourne, I wasn't on the floor. In Sydney, I didn't want to be on the floor. I wanted to be more business, and I did. And then I came to Melbourne and I wasn't on the floor. I was running the business. Yeah. But as hairdressers leave and change, then I would jump on the floor, which is a great skill to have. And it's, it's really good to do. I once helped a lady who opened a business in Port Melbourne when I didn't have businesses, and she wanted me to come and help her. She'd never owned a salon before. And the whispers in the background, or would she know she's never been on the floor? So it definitely helps that you have been on the floor and know how the business works. But as I do get older, I have been on the floor because it's just what you had to do when I opened a business.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
Come 7 years later, I do want to step back and I do want to be more involved in the, business side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So being that we're working on my 3 tick boxes, which is doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, with the people you want to do it with.
Yes.
How do you see the next 5 years for Salon Mace? Where do you think we'll be in 5, if not 10 years' time?
Yeah, short term, I want to step back. I've got a daughter doing year 12, not yet, next year, the year after, and I know it's an important year, and I do want to start. I've already started sort of setting it up that eventually within that year, I want to pull back a little bit, whether it's doing business from home while she's studying, but I think she needs that support.
Yeah.
That's personally. But as far as the business is concerned, I've looked at partnerships. I would really like a business partner on some level. I think it's really great to have someone to bounce off. And the idea of is either to expand because we're really at our limit. There's too many bums to get on seats at the moment.
Yeah.
Not every day, but a lot of the time we're pushed at capacity.
Yes.
So that's either moving to another premise or somehow expanding where we are now. Or I'm sort of up in mind, do I just stick to what we know and just refine what we've got? But I'm sort of at the stage where I think we need to expand slightly with a business partner or open another salon and have the both. So, I mean, we've talked about this.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting because this is a growth strategy for you. And I think that, so what we're talking about here, and this is for people listening and maybe thinking about going into business, you've kind of hit a capacity, what we would say is a capacity constraint, or your resources are now at capacity pretty much. So we then start to talk about, do we get a second site? So do we open another site? And then that opens up a whole world of possibilities of, do we try and buy another site and actually own the property? And do we, and those types of things. So that's interesting. The next 5 years I think are going to be pretty exciting for you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. And then
it's a growth story. You're still growing. You're not sort of you're looking to change the structure of your business, but you're not looking to you're not looking to shrink the business, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No. I also think too, when you're starting up a business, I guess I didn't really think about that a lot, but I think when you're choosing a site, you also need to have some sort of idea about growth, because this premise has grown as much as it possibly can.
Yeah.
And to move is a huge expense, plumbing and electricity and all of that. So to a bigger space. So as you say, maybe a different space. But I do think going back, I probably didn't estimate that it would grow the way it has. And so I think when you're choosing a business that you do need a site, it's a good idea to do a good projection for the next 10 years. Is this big enough? Will it accommodate? Do I want to grow where I'm at? I was a little bit short thinking when I chose the site just because of circumstance.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea to try and project and say, is this space big enough?
It's an interesting one because I think I've seen businesses that have moved and, they might only move up the road, but they suddenly lose a lot of clientele because humans just don't like change.
No, they don't.
Even though logically you might say, well, we're only up the road, that you can lose clientele. So I think it'll be an interesting one where, potentially keep the current site, but just open a second site rather than
move
the whole lot, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our location's great. There's great parking.
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody says it's great. It's a destination. We don't have a lot of walk-ins. We're online booking, social media, all of that. So the location is great and parking is important. And the logistics to move a salon would be huge. So you're probably right.
Yeah.
It's better to open another one.
Yeah. So anyway, now we're starting to talk about we're almost having a strategy meeting.
Yeah.
We're actually doing a podcast.
Yeah.
What would you, so if I could ask you, as an experienced entrepreneur, what's the one piece of advice you would give somebody listening who is thinking about starting a business? So maybe a key piece of advice or just your thoughts around mindset.
Well, I guess it comes back to that failure is not an option. That's really important. You have to really want to succeed, and you've also got to want to be a business owner and take all those responsibilities on that a business owner is responsible for, especially if you've got staff. It's not something that you can go, I think I kind of want to do it. I'm kind of not sure. You have to be, yep, I want to do it. This is what I want to do. It's going to be a success, and this is how I'm going to go about it. I don't think there's any room for doubt. You just have to be 100% committed to it.
You have to be
committed to making a success and to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And initially it's not easy. You've got to be there day in, day out, 6-7 days a week sometimes if that's what it takes. You also have to have that ability to do that as well.
Yeah. So all in.
All in. all in. There's a meme. Have you seen that meme that says crack addicts don't wake up and say, I can't get a hit? They just make it. Have you seen that? It's hilarious.
No.
I resonate with it because they don't wake up and go, oh, I've got no money. This is not going to work. I'm not going to get a hit. They make it happen, And I just was like, that's actually really true. You can't wake up going, oh, I'm not sure it's going to work. It's going to work. Have you seen that?
No, I have not seen that. And
I have to send it to you.
I absolutely did not expect to talk about crack addicts on this
Sorry,
podcast.
you can take it out.
No, we're leaving it. We have to leave it in. It's too funny. All right.
But I just thought that's true. They don't wake up going, I'm not going to get high. They wake up going, what am I going to do to make this happen? And I think that's the kind.
We probably have to put a disclaimer that, we don't recommend anyone try crack.
No, I don't recommend anyone tries crack, but I recommend the mindset.
The mindset. It's just going to happen.
I mean, there's days you wake up and you just go, what am I doing? Why did I do this? It'd just be easy to work for somebody else. And then you go, no, I'm going to get out of it. It's like when my kids don't want to go to school. I just say, it's not an option. You have to go into business going, it's not an option. This will succeed.
Yeah.
I guess that's my biggest take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great advice. So I do ask everyone this one question, and is entrepreneurship for everybody?
No. Some people just don't want to do it. Some people just say, I couldn't think of anything worse. Or some people say to me, I don't know how you do it, Felicity. I don't know how you do it. And some people are just happy doing a 9 to 5 and having their holiday and their sick pay covered. And I get that. I can, there's times in my life that I have really just thought, oh, it's so much easier, but something just draws you back. And I think you kind of have to have that feeling inside of you that you really want to do it. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't. You're on call.
That's okay too. It's just
it's totally okay. But holidays aren't your own. You're always messaging. I mean, I was in Noosa and Brownlow was happening, and my staff are amazing, and I 100% back them. But I was messaging because Lil was there doing social media, and I was messaging her, going, "Everything okay? All good? Can I help? Is everything okay?" And I don't do that reluctantly. I do it because I want to support my staff.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody and that's fine. Some people just want to knock off when they knock off, and that's totally fine. But no, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. If you could summarize your entrepreneurial journey so far, it's not over. We're still going.
Yeah.
So far, in one sentence or maybe two, how would you do that?
I would say it's a bit like a roller coaster without the extreme highs and lows. It's a little bit more not so extreme, but it is a bit like a fun roller coaster. There's times where you have to hold on and take the ride, and then there's times that you thoroughly enjoy it, and then there's times that you go, oh my God, why did I even get on this ride? And then there's you get off and you go, wow, that was amazing. So I guess I think it's a bit like a roller coaster.
Awesome.
You have to strap in and take the ride.
Yeah, strap in and take the ride. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think that is a perfect note for us to finish our conversation on, Felicity, if that's all right with you. I think that's a great way to finish. I want to thank you for your time, making the time to do this with me. It's very much appreciated, and I have loved your story. I've even learned a couple of things about you that I didn't know myself. So I've loved that, and we don't recommend taking crack, but I never thought I would ever have that.
I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, I need to see it now.
Resonated with me.
I need to see it now. Well, listen, thank you again, Felicity Mace. Thank you for being on Origin to Ambition. I really appreciate it, and you and I will no doubt speak again soon.
Thank you so much, Sean. I've actually really enjoyed it. I could probably keep chatting for a while now, but that's fine.
I think we need to get you back on the social media topic.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That I actually, it's become a bit of a passion of mine. And actually, that's the other thing. You need to be able to evolve in business because business evolves, and you can't go, oh, I'm too old, or I don't know anything about it. You have to go, okay, I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to learn because the world is moving super fast.
Yeah, you got to keep learning.
Got to keep learning.
Yeah, that's even better note to finish on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Felicity. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And that's all for this episode of Origin to Ambition. Thanks for tuning in. To make sure you don't miss our next conversation, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen in. For more information, you can visit us at dominiumcapital.com.au, and we'll see you next time.